We'll be going over IRS Notice CP24. This is a notice that you might receive from the Internal Revenue Service in the case that they've made adjustments to your tax return based on their record of your estimated tax payments, credits applied from another tax year, or payments that you submitted when you filed an extension. And as a result, you may have a refund based on all these recalculations. We're going to go through this notice the best that we can. There are a lot of redactions here, and I'll kind of walk you through some of the most important parts of this notice. So up here in the right-hand corner, you see the notice CP2000 or CP24. For some reason, they redacted the tax year, but the notice date is 2010, May 23rd. So that's probably the most important piece of information here, because if there is an action that's requested, it's going to stem from the notice date. For example, even though in this case you might be due a refund, if you were to owe money, most cases they give you 21 days from the notice date to make that payment, or else it will be recalculated for interest and updated penalty. So pay attention to the notice date. Over here on the left-hand side, where these four redacted boxes are, normally is the taxpayer name and address. So you want to check that for accuracy. If you've recently changed your address, there are generally 3 ways that you can update your record in the IRS files. So the first one is by filing your next income tax return with your new address. That normally takes care of your change of address in most circumstances. The second way would be to call the IRS, the 800 number, which for some reason they've redacted. But you can go to the IRS website, pull down the phone number, call. I believe the generic toll-free number is 800-829-1040. But you can call, validate your information, and then change your information or your new address over the phone. And then the third way, if you don't want to sit on hold for what seems like forever, you can file the change of address form known as IRS Form 8822, or for business owners, IRS Form 8822-B. So we'll put links in the show notes to resources we've created if that's the preferred option for you. So let's take a look at what we can of this notice. So what I mentioned before about your form, we'll assume 1040, based on payments that you made, what your tax liability was. So sometimes the IRS may mislabel a payment or misassignment from one year to another. So if they update your records based on some sort of information like a tax credit or an additional payment, then this is where you would receive this notice. So if you agree with everything, you don't need to change anything. You'll just receive your refund within 4 to 6 weeks. Of course, the IRS always holds the right to use part or all of a tax refund to pay back either tax debt from prior tax years or any other debt that may be subject to what's known as the Treasury Offset Program. So that would be if you owed back child support that gets reported from your from the state level up to the Treasury Department, student loan debt, unemployment payments. There's a whole list of different like state income tax or property tax. There's a whole list of different types of debt that the IRS will use your tax refund to offset. So keep that in mind, but for most people, you'll just get your refund within 4 to 6 weeks. You can also use this contact information slip to update your address. You can do this, but you can also file IRS Form 8822 or just call the IRS. So if you don't agree with the changes, then you would call the 800 number. You can go over your account. You can go through line by line. Speaking of line by line, this is the breakdown of what your calculations were versus the IRS. In this case, it would appear, I mean, assuming that we can read through the redactions, that when this taxpayer originally calculated their total tax or their taxable income, the IRS recalculations came back in their favor, which is what forced the refund. And then, oh, guess what? This is for tax year 2009, even though it's redacted up here for some reason. So good job, IRS. But you can see the payments, the date that the IRS received it, what type of payment it was. There's a payment locator number, which is assigned by the IRS so that they can track your payment, and then the payment amount. And then, again, another prompt to call the 800 number if there's any information that's incorrect or missing, and then some generic information. So, yes, in this case, I guess the 800-829-3676. This is an old notice, so you could probably use that number too. The last thing I'm going to do is check this hyperlink right here and just see if there's any other resources or anything else that we missed. So again, the IRS changed your return because there was a difference between your tax payments or credits, and this is what triggered a credit or a refund based on those changes. So there's some frequently asked questions. There's nothing really of substance here that we haven't already discussed. So, and then if you need to make adjustments to your estimated tax payments, you would use IRS Form 1040-ES. We'll put links in the show notes, and specifically the worksheet that goes into IRS Form 1040-ES is a good one to use for estimating your tax liability throughout the tax year. So probably one of the biggest questions that I get is, how can I tell whether or not I'm on track, if I'm going to owe taxes, or if I'm going to get a huge refund because I'm withholding too much? And my standard advice for most people is to use the worksheet that's in the IRS Form 1040-ES, and then use that to kind of figure out how much, tax you should withhold throughout the rest of the year. So if you start early in the tax year, you might not have all the information, but you will have more flexibility to make changes to your W-4 or your Form W-4P if you need to. If you start later in the tax year, then at that point, it may be too late to make those changes to your payroll, and you may need to send in estimated tax payments. So, for most people, the sweet spot's usually in the middle, somewhere probably between June and September would be a good time to kind of take note of where you are, and just because at that point you probably know any major tax events that you're going to have, or anything that you've already kind of incurred during the tax year. You would be able to use Form 1040-ES to complete your tax estimate, so that you can figure out whether or not you can, change your withholdings, or if you need to send in additional payments. So that is how you would prevent, getting a forced refund down the line for the tax year that you're worried about. But that's all we have for CP24. As I mentioned, we'll put links in the show notes to resources we've created on some of these tax forms mentioned here. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much, and have a great day.